Today's devotions direct us to Jeremiah chapter 33. This is one of those chapters that's full of grace and hope and comforting promise. I encourage you to read it completely through at least 2 or 3 times. Please do that on your own. Then find what images or promises that give you peace. See what you discover that surprises you about what God has promised and how He's done so. One of those standout verses for me is verse 22, and it reads, "As the host of heaven cannot be numbered, and the sands of the sea cannot be measured, so I will multiply the offspring of David my servant, and the Levitical priests who minister to me." The image of standing on the seashore and feeling the sand and pebbles on my feet brings this verse alive for me. I've stood on beaches in Alaska and Washington and Oregon and California and Hawaii and Aruba, and there are few things that I enjoy more than that feeling of sand and water washing over my toes as the waves come and go seemingly forever and without ever stopping. It's a feeling that this verse brings up and makes tangible for me that God's promises are without end, that they too never stop. Standing on such a beach and imagining the futility of trying to count the grains of sand brings home to me that it's futile to also try and stand against God's mercy and promise of grace. To think mere mortals can count the hosts of heavens or put numbers upon each bit of sand at the shore only serves to remind us that we are not God, that we can in no way restrain or hold God back from the good He does and continues to do for His creation unaided by anyone. And it's that unrestrained doing of good by God for the work of His hands that led Jesus to the cross. It's that limitless love that brought Jesus to stand on the seashore of Galilee with His followers and teach them of God's mercy come to earth in Himself. And at that same seashore, to meet with them after His death and resurrection, to give them the assurance that He has done all that was needed for the fulfilling of the promises of God we read about in this chapter. And that after that, we, along with the disciples, can take that word of promise out, unrestrained, and announce God's good news of grace and favor for all people. Well, that's what I'm taking away from this chapter. What about you? God's peace without end be with you. Goodbye.